And we're back. It's good to be back again. Today we have a very special guest. We have Brian Griffin with us here in Switzerland.
Yeah.
He brought the sunshine with him. It's not a joke, he actually did bring the sunshine.
I did bring the sunshine.
And we have Andi, and we also have Dave coming in from London today.
And, you know, the subtitles are not 100% correct because Landon Sterling is actually Dave.
Right.
And Andi is
Landon,
me, Faisal
Dave,
is Brian, and HORAGE is Landon.
Yeah.
So now we have complete confusion. And
someone else can be me. I'm quite happy.
Yeah, that's okay.
I'll talk on behalf of one of you guys. You know.
Yeah, you sound like Andi.
Really good. Yeah.
So Brian, we've been leading on that we had this Lensman 2 watch that's coming up, and of course, Brian and I got to know each other some time ago, and asked him to be a part of this project, and we'll talk a little bit about that a little bit further on. But for now, I just would like to pass the mic over to Brian to say hello and introduce himself, and we'll go from there.
Well, thank you, Landon. I'm really thrilled to be next to you and Dave here in Andi, and of course, and our man from Scotland who's down in London. It's great to get the opportunity of becoming involved with HORAGE. It's an extraordinary moment for me. Of course, you know, I'm normally a photographer, a speaker, and now can we say I'm a ambassadore?
Yes, definitely.
I'm an ambassadore for a watch, actually. A very, very good watch, might I add. An excellent watch. The first time I've seen it today. Yeah, I've seen it today in the flesh. It's really quite something.
And did you become a watchmaker already?
It's incredible. I mean, I've been around the company today and seeing them working on the most microscopic things being placed together to make this watch an amazing watch. It's just like hurt me looking at it. You know,
The eyes hurt.
It hurts just watching it. It's just incredible. If anyone, I mean, you should come and see what it takes to make a great watch. It's just extraordinary. The amount of patience, the nerves, the way the human hand can actually place something that is microscopic into this incredible machine, which is Lensman 2. It's just an incredible watch. It's just amazing.
And you recognize that our team is young.
It is very young.
And they were well groomed and shaved.
Very well groomed and very
in
shaved.
contrast to myself.
Opposite to you, Andy. Opposite to you.
You know, they thought they got shooting today, so that's why they actually...
They were really well groomed. I mean, I bought a new shirt and I've had my hair cut, but I'm nowhere near as smart as the watchmakers here in
Since I
HORAGE.
spilled over the red wine yesterday over your jacket.
Andy went, the red wine went, oh God, Andy, why did you
we
do
were
this?
so
My new
super
suit.
excited.
It's
you
my
know?
new suit as well, Andy. I got that specially for today. And now it's all splashed with red wine.
That's not a joke. It's a reality.
We were so excited talking about photography, and you know, I'm really not. I mean, Landon is a photographer, and I'm a complete. How do you say that?
Nerd. No, he's a wonderful man.
I mean, I take pictures and you make them, and that's different. So I have no damn clue about how to really create a real picture, and then you were explaining to us how you actually did these pictures, and some of the stories we will hear today.
It's just
it was super fascinating, and in between I was spilling that red wine over the table.
We're eating dumplings that your DIY to make. It's just extraordinary. Chinese dumplings, Taiwan dumplings.
Yeah, Sue and Celine really did an amazing job.
We did
once
some
again
production before for the whole next year, so you can come always over and you get some Chinese dumplings.
I love Chinese dumplings.
Yeah. So anyways, Andi, maybe you want to jump to the next slide, and we'll start talking a little bit about what we're going to do today and what we're going to talk about. Yeah, because we have a lot of
And we
things
talk
to go
about
over.
photography.
We talk about photography. Yes.
Yeah. And watchmaking.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah. He's a good photographer. We should have invited him. So.
Yeah.
You prepared the
Kermit.
menu.
Yes.
Wait, let me come back to that screen
Technical
here.
difficulties here.
No,
Not really.
everything is okay. We are
So
fine.
first thing, we already introduced Brian, and so we'll go into Lensman 2 exposure. Then we'll go into the backstory of how we got to know Brian, and then we're going to go through some of his image archive here and tell some stories about some of his most iconic images. There's so much of it. It's really super difficult to try to shortlist any of these for this live stream, but we will have an event coming up in London in May at some point. Anybody who's in London that's an HORAGE customer, also any of the Red Bar London, they'll be able to join us. Obviously, that's going to be disclosed individually where that event is going to take place and when. But you'll be able to meet Brian, look at some of his images, and obviously see the watch in person. So
You tell me when I need to switch
yeah,
slides.
we'll hop over to the introduction.
Yeah.
Brian, maybe you want to take the stage and just tell us a little bit about your history and accomplishments in photography.
Yeah, well, it started many years ago, I have to admit. And this first image that's come up on the screen now was obviously Star Wars. And I've kept myself in Rotherhithe for over 40 years, really. It's my home, my place in London. I know everyone there virtually, and everyone knows me. That's where I met Landon, of course, by some weird occasion. Was it a Sunday or a Saturday or something? I can't remember.
I was at a conference, and I
Right.
remember going into the conference, and I
Right.
thought to myself, how can I escape this if I need to? And there just happened to be these flowers hanging outside of a pub. And I
Right.
thought, okay, that's where I'm going to go when I've had enough of this. And I just wandered down there and sat down.
You
met
did?
a few of your friends.
Absolutely, yeah.
And they said, hey, our friend Brian is a photographer. You hang around a little bit, he'll probably pop by. Sure enough, you popped in.
I popped by, yeah.
Yeah. We sat there, I think, for about 6 hours.
6 minutes, maybe?
Yeah, no, I think we were there for a little while. Yeah,
Yeah.
and had a nice chat. But I mean, you were born in Birmingham, and
I was,
you
actually,
did come
yeah.
out with a really incredible book called Black Country Data. Yeah.
I did, yeah. That was 217. Was it 217? No, 221.
Mm-hmm.
221 I came out with that. But I met you years before, didn't I?
2017.
You met you 20 when I bought Pop Out.
Yes.
You've got a box copy. I mean, you bought a beautiful box copy of Pop, which only a few people in the world have got, which is, I mean, yeah, it's an amazing book, but I don't want to say how amazing or everything I've done, but it'd be rather boring for everybody. But yeah, there was this man sitting next to me, and I got my pint there, my pint of London Pride, and I'm drinking my Pride, and either you said something or I said something, and then we introduced ourselves to each other. And from that point in time, you've actually collected all my work, actually, haven't you? You've got a great collection of my books, which we saw some last night. One book you didn't have, which was work, which is, I bought it over from England for you, which I gave you as a gift yesterday.
Thank you very much.
Which was a real pleasure of mine to give you some humble gift for what you've done for me, which is extraordinary. Inviting me to be part of Andi's company and HORAGE. I can't thank you enough, you know. I feel pretty good about it, to say the least.
And this book back in '91 was voted the best photography book in the world at the
It
time.
was, yeah, it was. It was.
Yeah, and since then, I mean, you've worked with a number of musicians, film stars. You've created your own films, and yeah, I mean the archive is it's unbelievable. And here we have Star Wars.
We certainly do, yeah.
On various different film projects. So
absolutely, that was as you know, 1982. And it all stemmed again from Rotherhithe, actually, because one of the main players in Star Wars, players meaning one of the backroom people, was head of animatronics in Star Wars, and he had a studio in Rotherhithe, and they became my friends, and then he introduced me to to the Star Wars people, George Lucas and etc. And but that's how I got what you would call the gig, you know. I got the job of photographing Star Wars. Although I did not spend a long time on it. I think I spent perhaps 2 days or something. And the actors or the film stars like Luke Skywalker, Harrison Ford, Darth Vader, Princess Leia would come in and come into the studio they built for me next to the main studio where they were filming. I'd walk through the smoke, which most of the filming was being done to hide certain elements of the studio, past George in his chair, you know, George Lucas, and they'd come in one at a time. And I was only been using a studio for about 2 years. I was still quite naive about it. So a lot of the elements, the photographic elements in the pictures of Star Wars are my early experiments of reflecting light onto backgrounds, etc.
Yeah. So as we got to know each other over the years, I decided to approach you about working on this project. We of course started this photography inspired collection of watches. Yeah. And we started chatting about it and what we could do. And the next watch that's coming up, this is the first time everybody's sort of heard the name. It's Lensman 2 Exposure. Those who have been a part of our forum know that it has a exposure calculator function built into it. We're going to be showing that at a later date. We're just finalizing imagery and animations and all that, but we're making a special edition version of this watch, limited to 100 pieces. Has a very special case back engraving, also with Brian's name on it, his own quote there on the back. He's selected a silver dial, a platinum rotor, and there will be a vote on the images that you would like to have included within the package that comes along with the watch, and they'll be numbered and signed prints. And so we'll have a few different categories for folks to choose from, and Brian will number and sign those, and everybody will have a little piece of Brian's history with them. Yeah, it's really special.
Which is really special.
Yeah, I have this here. I brought along this print from one of the books that you.
Yes.
You want to talk about this one? We actually have this image coming up. I believe it's in one of the slides.
It is one of the collections.
But this will give you an
collection,
example of the sizing. For the most part, it's going to be slightly bigger than this.
Yeah, it's going to be 10 by 12. Sorry, that's English. 10 inches, which is what, 25.4 centimeters by 12 times.
You want to put it there?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we can put it right there.
Magic cameras here.
Yeah.
Well, in English terms, it's 10 inches by 12 inches, and it's quite a nice size, a beautiful size.
Oh.
Bigger than...
Might want to zoom out there.
Whoa, I don't want to see up the horse's rear. I don't like horses' rears, but especially if you're kicked from below it. But I mean the whole collection that I'm giving to HORAGE, and the company here is all analog photography. It's all totally analog. So therefore here we have identical twins. It's not a Photoshop thing. Photoshop didn't exist. Oops.
Destroyed the studio.
We'll just leave that.
That's okay.
Yeah.
No problem.
It was identical twins, styled by Jackie Fry. So they're in exactly the same suits, exactly the same socks, exactly the same shoes, and the hairstyles were done so they replicate each other. And it was for Kodak in Germany, actually. It was in Photokina. They call on industrial pollution or something like that. I threw a load of stuff into a stream in Rotherhithe. It's just over the road from my studio, that existed then, but it's nearer my home now, actually. It's very close to where you've been, Landon, to visit me, and shot from the rear, of course. It's identical twins on the back of a horse. It was just my idea. I just had to come up with it for some reason.
It's amazing, yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, because I asked a number of people. I shared this on Instagram, and I
Yeah.
asked, how was it shot? Is it double exposure or single exposure?
Single exposure.
Everybody guessed that it was a double
It's
exposure.
a single exposure.
Yeah,
Mm.
and it's an amazing photograph. The colors and just the detail in this is I mean, the
Okay.
artistry.
And that's in my collection, which people can, if they want it, be voted in if it's part of my collection. Whatever.
Yeah. So we'll move along here, Andy. Do we have David here somewhere
Yeah,
too?
getting David back
Getting
here.
David back there,
don't
he
be
is.
concerned when I sometimes kick you out of the thing. You're still there, so we have different scenes because when.
So somebody was asking if this watch will be a tourbillon. We actually, Lensman 1 was a tourbillon watch, and we'll be coming out with a Lensman 1.1 because we've had requests. We had an open forum vote on our website where people were requesting the Lensman 1 again to be included as sort of a box set. Maybe Dave, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the original Lensman 1 was so successful that it sold out, and we had plenty of people asking to get their hands on one of those. So what we've done is we've done a slightly tweaked version, the Lensman 1.1, which has got a couple of little changes that we'll keep under wraps just now, but that will be announced at the same time as the Lensman 2 and will be available as part of a box set if you wish to collect both lines within it. And we'll also have a little bit of an offer for anyone who currently has a Lensman 1 and wants to add the Lensman 2 to their collection as well.
I think it's important to own more than one watch.
Yeah, I mean, you have
It's like
two
with
wrists.
bicycles and cameras. One should own more than one.
You always have two cameras.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah.
Dave, how many bicycles do you have? Well, maybe you don't want to say this publicly. You have let's just say you have a cycling problem.
The answer to that is the same as how many watches do I have? A lot.
Yeah. Okay.
Watches and bicycles.
Yeah,
So the camera
absolutely.
thing is missing then.
I think. No, I have that problem as well. I just don't know how to use them anymore.
Okay.
Okay, we leave that to the professionals.
So yeah,
Yes.
we'll be having more coming up on Lensman 2 and when it can order. But basically, it's going to be happening in May, so it's coming up very soon. It's only a couple of weeks away that May is knocking on our doorstep, and we'll also have some events as well. So we mentioned the event that we'll have in London. We'll also have another event happening in Shanghai, in Hong Kong, in Taipei, in Singapore, and we'll also have some events in the USA as well. So we're gonna be all over the world with this, and just spreading the good word about this watch because it is something I haven't seen yet in watchmaking, and of course we have incredible artwork and photography from Brian that we want to share with the world and enable people to have a chance to collect some of his work.
Yeah, and I think we can also make a couple of good pictures.
Oh yeah, at some point we might make a few photos. with
Absolutely. We've been wrecking today
Yeah.
around. I'm not going to mention what we're going to do. Really adventure. We're going to have a lot of fun and quite an adventure here. It's really interesting here in Biel. It's an interesting place.
Yeah, you'll get some cheese fondue today in the
Cheese
evening.
fondue
and
today, everything,
Then we
I'm
do
getting
the Swiss wine thing. So we do the full program. Yeah.
Wow, fabulous. It was fantastic last night, the dumplings and all the beer. It was just wonderful.
I learned a new word.
Oh yes.
What was that?
I mean, disco piss.
Oh, disco. Disco piss. Oh, yeah.
I was laughing my ass off too.
This is what Brian called Andy's Bavarian beer.
Disco piss. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was shock and awe.
I probably
for sure.
need to make a T-shirt of that.
Yeah.
That was hilarious. We had so much fun yesterday, and the stories. You're looking back to 40 years.
Oh, absolutely.
Of
52 years I've been a photographer, but what is it now? It's 50. I can't know. The years are so many years. 51 years, is it? 51 years I've been a professional photographer, and of course I've done a lot of work, which then people who wish to purchase Lensman 2 have got the choice. They choose the portfolio, you know. It'd be up to how many people choose whichever portfolio.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
You've got the choice. I put most of the major images of my work in these portfolios, but I've done certain portfolios which have become obvious to have a portfolio of, but then I made a portfolio of my choice, which you've seen one already, which was those two horsemen. So it's been interesting for me, but I've had to trawl through 52 years of work to come up with these portfolios.
Yeah, so let's look at some of these. So we already talked about how we got to know each other.
Yeah.
But this image I picked up because I know that this was an image that you had explained to me that really helped you understand where you could go with photography.
Yeah,
I was shifting around a little bit.
I had to try and gain belief that I could actually do well in this career of photography, and I was very lucky after I left Art College. I'd been in engineering for 5 years, went to Art College for 3 years, and I came out of Art College and then on a magazine commission of people travelling into London, I asked the taxi to go slowly across London Bridge. And of course, in the morning, people come commuting from London Bridge Station across the river. A bit like a Fritz Lang metropolis, really, going into the metropolis, these people are. So I was inspired by Fritz Lang as well, and the great German film director. And I clicked the shutter through the back of the taxi. I'd asked to go slowly across the bridge, and I actually exploded inside my head. I realised, full of my own, I don't know what the right word is, full of my own ego or whatever, that I'd taken a world-class image within less than a year of leaving Art College. And now it hangs in the V&A, and has done since, because they used it for the history of photography when it was 100 years old. It sits there in the V&A, and I was just absolutely amazed. It's still one of the very best photographs I've ever taken, and yet I took it as a naive ex-student, really, and I say to my assistant, I say, you have to take a world-class picture within a year. They look at me and they go, like, that's crazy. Can't take a world-class picture within a year.
High.
I set the bars really high, for my assistants. Sorry,
Yeah, no, it's great. And then from there, I mean, you met. It was a gentleman from Basel.
Yes.
Who
Roland
worked for
Schenk.
For Do magazine.
He was art director of Do before he became art director of Management Today. Mm-hmm. And he came from Basel.
And he gave you a chance in the corporate photography.
He was the
world,
one person in London, after walking the streets for 4 months virtually, he saw my work. He said, "You're the next Robert Frank," which I thought was just, I'm not. But he thought I was, and it gave me so great feeling, to begin my career, because I wasn't sure I was any good at doing it, photography that is. But it proved to be true.
And it turned out very, very, very well. And so from there, I mean, you ventured into. How did things get started into photography? Into the photography work with musicians, because Andy, if we hop right into there, yes. This is probably the most well-known work from you in the music space.
It is, yeah. I mean, it's just everywhere. It's almost like it could be anywhere. It could be on tablecloths, on board mats. I mean, there's so many of them in the world now. I've sold so many of these images, and it's so popular, and everyone seems to like it because it has a certain feeling about something that responds with the human psyche. I won't go into what it responds to, but I'll just say that it's about the worker as well, which I was really interested in photographing the worker. In this case, it's a woman, which is great. And I started when there were loads of independent labels in London in the late 70s. A man called Dave Robinson gave me a break on Stiff Records, and once I'd started working with him and produced Iggy Pop, produced Joe Jackson, produced Graham Parker, Parkerilla, he just like said, you know, you've just got to do album covers, and they all started flooding in. It was like a machine. I was like a machine, you know. I did 250 or something album covers over the next few years. I was the photographer to go to for album covers for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it could be your. I guess we'll understand why when we get to the next image, you know, of Iggy Pop.
Yeah.
You know, you were able to hold your position, I guess you could say, in certain circumstances. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I get inspired by you two guys to give this story.
Please.
You first had to ask for permission. Yeah.
I asked for permission this earlier on if I could tell this story, and they said yes, you can. So yeah, it was again quite freaky near London Bridge. This happened. Iggy was rehearsing his band to go on tour, and he was going to make an album called Soldier, and I was the man that was commissioned to do his album cover, not by Iggy himself, by a company called Rocking Russian, which existed in Jermyn Street. And so I went in with Al McDowell, who was the worker there, who now works on Star Wars and in Hollywood, but that's another story. A very famous man, great man, and he took me in to see Iggy near London Bridge, and Iggy was there, and he had Glenn Matlock out of the Sex Pistols in his band, and he had someone else, I can't remember all the people, but there were 2 Sex Pistols people, 1 pop group person, so he had quite a talented band at that time. This was 1979, and I went in to see him, and then Al said, because we had to call him James, you don't call him Iggy, James, I would like to introduce you to Brian. Brian is going to do your album cover. And so he sidled over to me, stepped to the side, picked up a litter bin, those plastic flip-top litter bins that you get, you know, to put your rubbish in the kitchen, whatever, in those days. And he took the top off the rubbish bin, and then put the rubbish bin between my legs, or next to my legs. And he whipped out his penis and peed into the bin right next to me. And I didn't blink. I just looked at him in the face, and as he was peeing into that bin. And I didn't react. I didn't go, "Oh my God," or anything like that. I just accepted what he was doing, and apparently I passed the test. Yeah.
So that was a test.
It was a test.
If you just stay cool.
But you've had many of those that you shared with us, and
I mean, at this time, you know.
Yeah. A lot of things happened to me. Loads of things.
I told you, I think our generation is harmless.
Generations. Oh yeah.
So I see it's very quiet in the comments. So if anybody has any questions for Brian as we go along, by all means, just tap it here in the live chat, and we'll answer those as we go through. Dave, is there anything you wanted to add to that? Have you had any experiences like that in the watch space?
Not in the watch space, but probably I best not divulge too many secrets about the other space I've been in. But yes,
Yeah.
there's been some interesting moments. But let's not be getting any ideas for initiations.
Yeah, and so with that, you had that, and you've also created images that, let's say the artist maybe had not been too enthused about, that have gone on to become classics, right?
A load of them, and
Yeah.
many of them, that the subject matter hasn't commented, hasn't congratulated me, or in any way, maybe just wanted not to see the image again or whatever.
But the next image we're going to look at
Yeah.
is this one, and as I
It's a
understood,
very good choice.
I mean this is an incredible image, and can you tell a little bit of the backstory on this?
Of course. Well, actually, this was Joe Jackson's Look Sharp, again, 1979. These are early covers we're showing at the moment. And it's near Waterloo Station, where I sat in a cafe with Joe, and we had a Wimpy together. Wimpy was a burger joint back then. And then I walked with Joe across the street into the south bank of London, which is a concrete, well, not jungle, but it's a part of brutalism, concrete brutalism in London. And a shaft of sunlight was coming down between two pillars of, between two concrete pillars, walkways rather. And I said, Joe, stand there. And Joe stood there. Of course, with Mike Ross, who is a really good man bought Joe a pair of white winkle pickers, which Joe wore. But Joe thought they'd be on his feet, and I'd see the whole of Joe, pulling a shape or something. But instead, I photographed his feet, and his feet became the album cover. And he's never forgiven me since. He's never ever spoken to me, applauded me. It made Joe Jackson those winkle pickers did, and he's never thanked me or anything since. Thank you, Joe. I made you, baby. A woman came across the street in New York to me, down in Park Avenue or something, and she kissed me on the forehead. Quite a good-looking woman, really. Kissed me right on the forehead. I said, "What'd you do that for?" And she came across the street to me, well-dressed woman. She said, "You did the Look Sharp cover." That was incredible. I never even just walked across the street to me. Never seen it before. It was quite extraordinary. Yeah, a great cover. I must admit, I'm still very proud of it. And that's also in one of the collections. So you got a chance to have that
involved,
a print of that.
Yeah.
Another one.
Oh, this is you want me to talk again? You want to talk?
Well, I mean, we have so many, and for people who are new to your work, or maybe they've seen these images and they didn't know the backstory on it. I mean, it's just wonderful to hear. Really.
Well, so I tell you, we passed this other
this
side.
one also had to pass.
I'm really I don't know, I'm insecure or something. Paranoid, insecure, I mean, all those qualities I have. What it was that I actually see him every year at the Royal Society, and he's a beautiful, wonderful man. And I enjoyed him when he came in the studio. He's a wonderful man, I have to admit. Was Brian May of Queen, and he turned his back to me, and I realised, because he's Queen's guitarist, and Queen's guitarists play and it's an extension, can we say, of their private member, penis rather, and they like that, they play it like that. So when he turned his back to me, I realised that his head and his shoulders in his black suit looked like a penis, actually, the top of a penis. So I photographed him. It was for Sonny Walkman, and I photographed this for Sonny Walkman. But if I were to be serious, you just know it's Brian May, because of the hairstyle.
Yeah, sure.
And Brian May loved it. I'm not embarrassing him at all, because he absolutely loved it, and he knew what I'd done, really. And he took it to Freddie, because Freddie was unfortunately not very well at that time, as the world knows. Yeah. And he wanted Freddie to do their last album cover that featured Freddie, of course. And Freddie said, "No way, no way is he going to do our cover." So I didn't do Queen's cover. Yeah.
Amazing story.
And it goes on. We have so many. We're already
just moving you around. Yeah.
We're already at the 30-minute mark here. We said today we were going to take this one, keep things a little bit short.
But it doesn't
but
matter.
we're having so much fun here.
It's fun to listen.
It's great to be with you.
And I'm moving you around a little bit because we have different presentations, so it looks better. I'm not a graphical guy.
You're an art director here. Yeah.
And today we were doing a little bit of a photo scout mission, and Kate Bush came on the radio.
She did.
Yeah, she came on the radio.
Yeah.
And
with Wuthering Heights.
We started talking about Kate, and again, I mean, Kate Bush has become very popular once again today with the younger generation, because I believe it's in Stranger Things. Is that correct, Dave? Was it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was almost a global #1 again at the back end of last year, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I talk about it. The location where you see Kate here was up near High Wycombe, where I lived at the time. And I was driving down very early in the morning, 5:15, to meet Kate at my studio. I got down there in Rotherhithe, again, Southeast 16, London, central London, and She was there sitting in the gutter. Kate Bush was sitting in the gutter. This most beautiful, exquisitely beautiful woman. I parked my car and like I saw her there. And I said, "Well, hello, I'm Brian." Blah, blah, blah. She never met me before, and and she was smoking a cigarette. I thought, well, how can she sing high tones like that, smoking a cigarette? And it was a Carol cigarette. They make them in Ireland, and they're very powerful. They're
rough stuff.
They're really, really proper cigarettes without any filters. She was smoking one in the gutter of Rotherhithe Street and sitting in the gutter. And and when we drove back, because she wanted a photograph that was similar to, well, sort of inspired by a broken frame. She still loves that photograph. I get a Christmas card from her virtually every year. I did for a few years later, 5 years or something. She always sent me a Christmas card when she lived in Kent. She lived quite near my studio, really, just a few miles out of London.
Yeah, so I mean, we are talking about watches a little bit here as well, and we had somebody here in the comments asking about, interest in watches from Brian's side, and
We had a discussion about your watch.
Yeah.
we had a discussion about the watch, and I mean, this was the one you wore here today.
Yeah.
Was
A Longines.
The Longines
Yeah.
from 1952.
52. In fact, this man is coming to the launch. He's one of the oldest friends I have in my life, really. He met me when I was 4.5 years old, and he sat opposite me. He was in his lederhosen. He always wore lederhosen. He was from
Austria.
He's from Austria. His mother is
Lederhosen
Austrian.
guy.
And he was 4.5 like I was, 4.5 in the infant school, and we've been friends ever since. He's been my friend all my life, and he will be down at the launch of this watch. He's a keen watch collector and a fantastic engineer, and he'll be there, who understands the craft of watchmaking.
He gifted this watch to you, is that correct?
And what he does, he goes.
You have it on the wrist, eh?
I have it on the wrist, yeah. It's a Longines, yeah. Designed, I believe, in 1952, the same year as we
You
met.
can hold it again there.
Sorry, would you like me to put
Yeah.
that up there? Oh, right.
Very classic thing.
Yeah.
At this time, they still made thin watches,
Yes.
Today, all the watches are bricks.
Yeah, it
Yeah?
is, yeah. A beautiful watch, never fails me. And I sleep with it on every night. And because he gets my prints, because he's my oldest friend. He collects my work, and for thanks for that, he bought me a watch.
And today we were driving past Omega, and you were telling me you had
Yeah.
a Speedmaster,
I had a
and
Speedmaster.
you kind of regretted letting go of that
I
timepiece.
sold it, yeah, for £500, and it's worth 5,500 now. That's ridiculous. I'm hopeless at those sort of things.
Yeah.
I really am.
But you have a good archive from your own work.
Yes.
You don't need to worry about other people's collectibles, I think.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andy. You are so kind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we continue talking a little bit about moving around again here.
Yeah.
Do you want to say something, Dave?
No, I'm all good. I'm just listening away.
You'd like to listen away? Okay. This is Rocket Man. It was initially made for Paul McCartney. I call it Rocket Man, but it was for Paul McCartney's jet. It was a photograph I took in Dungeness with, unfortunately, a man that I use for many times in my work, who unfortunately no longer with us, called Charles Woods. I stuck a flash gun down his trousers. Not I didn't, I asked him to do it. I asked him to do it, and he pointed the flash gun at the ground. I dialed it in so it would be overexposed, the flash would on the ground. And I asked him to light a very small rocket and send it up in the air. And I had a flash.
Kind of a fireworks rocket thing.
Yeah, fireworks rocket.
And you
yeah.
get with this flash this picture.
I've made it like big,
okay.
the ground, because I overexposed it with the flash. And I know it throws people, because in fact, because I flashed it on the ground, it makes the rocket come down and hit the ground.
Yeah.
But the problem is that if you look at it closely, all the sparks are falling down, so it's actually going up. But because the flash on the ground, they think it's coming down.
Cool.
But it's not. It's just one of those psychological you have to learn about psychology in photography, how to fool the viewer to enjoy your photographs. People enjoy this particular photograph. This is also in one of my collections for HORAGE that the HORAGE collectors can vote upon, and then of course Paul rejected it. We were talked earlier that people reject my work quite often, and Paul rejected it, and Howard Jones bought it a few years later. He bought the photograph of me, which was very kind of Howard Jones. A bit more taste than Paul had at that time, you know.
Okay.
Ooh, sorry, Paul. I know we've worked together. You've got all my stuff in your collection. At Abbey Road, we've worked together, Paul and I. Yeah.
I go to the next.
Yeah.
I think we need to jump some, so we save something for other.
Yes.
Well,
Oh, we're gonna move around here.
You're going to get the juicy ones.
Oh, there we go.
You're going to get the juicy ones. I can see. Oh God, I've got to talk. I've passed this through. Do you really want me to talk about this?
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
And we're talking about these because I mean the Lensman series is a series dedicated to photography. It's based around function, but also the mechanical artists that came before the digital era that really defined what was possible and what people should be able to do in Photoshop in digital technology. Brian was doing these things, these works, you know, with multiple exposures, with light play, you know, basically
Extremely technical.
creating his own light, and so it, even though we're very photography based on this live, it's very important that people understand we're not just making a watch for the sake of doing something that's based around, we like photography. I got to know Brian years ago, and we become friends and talked about working on this project. He has such an incredible archive, and these stories need to be told, and I think this is something that's been really missing in the watch industry, and it's such an honor to be able to work with you on this and to hear stories like the one that's going to come up here around Margaret Thatcher, because you told us yesterday at the dinner table about it. It's just absolutely fantastic.
And that's when the wine got spilt, you think?
Yeah.
Okay, I've got to talk about it, everyone. I mean, please close your ears or go and make a cup of tea now. But this was an occasion where a property developer who was developing Broadgate, which is a part of the City of London, as you might know, we're going to feature an image from there later. He paid me a reasonable fee, quite a good fee, to go and photograph the Prime Minister, because she was going to open a part of that massive development in the City of London anyway, and I was photographing that development, so I was an appropriate photographer to go there. So I went to number 10. It was easy. Number 10, drove my, I have to say, Range Rover there, and I parked it up outside number 10. Got the tailgate down, got all the equipment out, my two assistants with me, a French one and an English one, assistants-wise, and I just went up to the door and knocked on the door, and the policeman opened it, and I said, I've come to photograph Mrs. Thatcher, or Prime Minister Thatcher, whatever, and I walked up the stairs, past all the Prime Ministers in framed pictures up the stairs, and it breaks into like a palace when you're inside number 10. And I went into this big room, which maybe it was the room they're using now for the COVID press over the last couple of years, and with Boris there, and in the corner we set up Peter Davenport, who is the designer of all the Broadgate stuff, all the magazines, everything, the workbook that I gave Landon yesterday, and he'd set up a green-based table in the corner of the room with just like eggshells when you do that game, you know, in photography, you swap the eggshells around. Where's the P? There was like a chrome helmet. These are safety helmets like she's wearing. A red helmet, a white helmet, and a blue helmet. The Prime Minister comes in. One of my things, I mean, I didn't do it when I went to a place where the Queen was. I didn't go to her loo, but I went to the Prime Minister's loo with all the gold taps and used it, you know. Anyway, I came out of there, got my camera set up, got the lights set up. I had to be really quick, and then she came in. And she says, "Okay, what do you want me then for? And what do you want me to do?" And I don't know what we said to her. It was just like you just stand there or something. But we said, "Would you go over to the table, Prime Minister, and choose a hard hat?" I was praying that she would choose a white one. And I was, because I was going to convert it into a black and white photograph, and I wanted the Prime Minister to wear a white hat. But of course, she went right over to the table and chose the blue one, conservative blue. She came back, and I said, "Oh, Prime Minister, no, your dress just looks awful with that blue helmet on. It looks awful." "Oh, does it?" She was like, "Really? Oh, does it?" I said, "Yes. Would you kindly go and choose another one?" Now, when she went back there, she got to choose a bling one, which was the chrome one, which I mentioned. She could choose the red one, which no way. I mean, that's a socialist red, Labour red.
Can't wear that.
Can't wear that. Choose a blue.
Green.
A green one, because that would be the Labour Liberal Democrats.
Lib Dem, yeah.
Yeah.
So she had to choose the white one, which was a great way of doing it. I mean, I knew I'd got to do it. I got to persuade her somehow. Which was a while. When she came back with it, I said, "Oh, that looks so good, Prime Minister." And I said to now, and then I did a Polaroid. I always Polaroided everything on the back of the Hasselblad, looked at the Polaroid, and as the Polaroid came, pulled it out the back, left it for a minute to develop. I turned my back to the Prime Minister, and I went, "Oh my God, I've turned the back to the Prime Minister." I quickly turned around to face her again. And she was the most powerful woman in the world, believe it or not, at that time. Was like a little grocer's daughter, just looking at me like this. And I was like really shocked by that. But anyway, the next thing I had to say to her was, she said, "How do you want me?" They were always, "Okay, how do you want me now?" Because I've already spent 10 minutes maybe with you. And I said, "I would like you to be Isadora Duncan." Now, Isadora Duncan was a famous dancer the early part of this century. And I said, "Would you dance for me, Prime Minister?" And so she started dancing for me. And therefore I photographed her dancing with the white helmet on. And the reason I said Isadora Duncan to her, I don't know whether I felt that bad about her as a person or about a politician in the Tory party, but the fact was that Isadora Duncan, I can't remember the date actually, that she was visiting someone, and she wasn't driving the car, but she sat in the back of an open top sports car. She had a long scarf on, which then was the sports car drove away with her in the front seat of it, was trapped in the rear wheels of the spoke, and it just ripped her head off near enough.
Yeah.
So I think it was, I don't know, sort of politically.
But that's the story.
That's the story.
That's the story.
That's the story. That's
Yeah.
the story. That's the truth.
Yeah.
So you can choose Maggie Thatcher to be in your pile if you really
Yeah.
think it's an extraordinary image,
And that Broadgate.
Including the truth.
including the truth.
Yeah.
If you want the truth, put that in good type in it.
And learn something from not wearing a scarf in a sports car.
Oh, it's incredible. It's in the National Portrait Gallery now. I've chosen. I've got some of the images we've already seen. It's in the National Portrait Gallery now.
And then
Amazing.
the
Yeah, that
Probably-
was a picture was taken for actually.
Yeah, that's it.
That's one,
Yeah.
yeah.
for this one.
This is Broadgate. I won't talk about this. What I'll say is it's a big firework that exploded one night over Broadgate in the city of London, and you could hear it in my studio, which is 4 miles away down the river. It was the biggest firework that was available. It was the firework that ends all displays. And we went through a series of fireworks a week before, and we chose a Spanish one, because that was just like. It wasn't like all floral or anything. It was just, and the thing was, I wanted it to explode, as you can look there, as over the fulcrum of the crane. The crosshairs of the crane,
Yes.
as like a Christ on the cross. I wanted it to be an image like Christ on the cross, having been crucified. If you look on the floor there, I lit the whole of that site. It can include the building in the back, and in fact it's so pouring with rain, torrential rain pouring down, and so it looks all foggy, but it's just the rainfall over a long exposure. and you see the crosses on the ground. I call that the Battle of the Somme, because I didn't really like that Broadgate had destroyed a beautiful part of London to exist. So it was my get back, on Broadgate and the building of Broadgate, really.
Yeah, so
Amazing.
thanks so much for these stories, and I mean we're just about ready to wrap up here soon. But aside from Lensman 2 watch that's coming up and the special edition prints from your collection that people will be able to include with their watch, you also have a book in the works.
Of course, yeah, I do.
Yeah, and so this is a very Swiss image, yeah, and maybe you want to speak about this, and the importance of this book and exactly what this book is about that you're working on as your additional project.
Well, I'm working with the same designers that did Black Country Dada, and I'm working with the same printing companies that worked on Black Country Dada again.
Yeah.
And I'm working with Vaughan Newson, that a lot of people enjoy his site, who's, as you know, he's a big Depeche Mode fan. And we're working on it together I'm working
Depeche
with
Mode book, yeah.
a Depeche Mode book, exactly. The history of Depeche Mode, the history of my photography with Depeche Mode, the history of the people that worked on Depeche Mode with me, the stylists, the set builders, my assistants, they're all in this book. And it's going to be a hardback book. It's going to be 35 centimeters square, hardback. Roughly, if I was to say, this is just a guess, 120, 130 pages. Beautifully reproduced images of all my Depeche Mode work, the first 5 or 6 albums, including at the end of the album stills from Only When I Lose Myself, which was a film I made in '97 for Depeche Mode. You get Roger Burton there, who's the great production designer on that film. So it's a great, for people who are interested in my work on Depeche Mode, this is the definitive.
That's the Bible.
The Bible of it, with all the images in there that are relevant.
And you know which priest you need to invite.
Which priest? Oh, that's a good one. What was that? Oh, sorry, Andy. The Catholic priest. I'm sorry, Andy. You got it. You put it up on the screen there to show people.
I can't find it so quickly. Do it next time.
Oh, yeah, right. So, yeah, please watch out. It's going to be the month of... I'm Kickstartering it, so I'm trying to raise the cash for this book. And
it's
so
super cool that you do this on Kickstarter, because we were reborn kind of out of Kickstarter, and you have done it 4 times already.
Yeah, I have, yeah.
We have done it actually also 4 times.
Yeah.
I personally have done 7 Kickstarter campaigns.
It's great. It's a
And
great
it went a
software.
little bit out of fashion somehow for some projects, because a lot of people messed up. But I think in this world and for us, it served a super good purpose, and it's still a great platform for people who create stuff.
Yeah.
And hopefully, it's continued. It will be continuously used.
And, I mean, this book is... I mean, there have been books on Depeche Mode, as people know, which are terribly expensive. But this book's going to be for the fans. I can tell you now, in English pounds, it's going to be £35 of all my work, of my work on Depeche Mode for £35.
Oh, that's fantastic, and that's a really fair value.
Yeah.
So
Losing Dave.
Yeah, we lost Dave here.
Yeah. Okay, we just continue. We
so-
are going towards the end.
We're pretty much at the end. We're coming up to the last slide, and so
Dave is back.
probably what most people are asking, been asking is when they'll be able to order this watch and to see more of it. We've actually just finished our press kit and started to circle that out to media so that they can start to prepare their articles and have an idea of where things are going. We're also continually updating the images that are going along with this. And we also have to share a lot more in the forum that we have because we need to have community involvement to select some of these images of Brian's. And we have a few other things that we want to involve individuals in. So that means in May, mid-May-ish, we're going to be starting with the pre-order. That'll be the early bird, and then we'll do a second one later on at a later date. And but for the most part, it's going to
I have a question. How many live YouTubes did you make?
Live YouTubes did I make?
Like this, live?
We've done quite a few with Vaughan.
Yeah, I've done quite a few Depeche Mode.
Yeah.
Probably 6 or 7 with Vaughan at least.
Yeah.
I mean, I like public speaking. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun here.
I love it. I mean, I think it's really good. It's real. It's happening. It's live. I'm actually saying this
It's
now,
not polished.
as we saw. It's not polished, of course. Maybe I should tidy myself up a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah,
But,
we were thinking of doing the black, white, black thing, but then it turned out into black, green, black.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but somebody's asking a little bit more about what's happening in May. So we're going to be in London in May. We're going to be hosting an event there with Brian. You'll be able to see some of his artwork.
19th.
18.
18th.
Yeah,
18th,
but
yeah.
we're not disclosing the location. If you would like to be a part of the event, you can email us at lostintime@horage.com. You can also reach out if you're a Red Bar member to also inquire about it. And it's first come, first serve, and it's already, I believe it's going to be a very packed event.
Full event.
Fully
It's
booked,
going to be a sellout. It's going to be a sellout.
Ordering disco piss.
Well, hopefully not.
And red wine.
And red wine. Yeah.
Dave, I bring the red wine for you and probably a gin might also be
Perfect.
necessary. Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. So we have a lot of fun and watches
Yeah.
around and
Mhm.
and then hopefully, yeah, like always, I mean, we are happy when people support us, when they invest into what we do, and everybody can continue to create good things.
Yeah.
That's
Support
what
a
it's
great
about
artist,
at
you
the
know,
end of the
support
day.
our watchmakers,
Yeah.
and we get to continue to do more fun things. We're already talking about the next things that we get to do even after this.
Yeah.
You know, and what are we going to do with these images that Brian produces of us? And there's so many exciting things to come. And we're going to be sharing more on this project. I'll be sharing Lensman 1.1 information probably prior to things sort of officially going live, because we have some customers that have inquired about that. So we'll be giving a
Next.
little bit more updates on Lensman 1.1 next, and then it's off to the races with Lensman 2. So
I think we are half an hour over our plan.
we are half an hour over.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Half an hour.
I mean, nobody will punish us for that.
Yeah.
Stories were good.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
No,
That's
it was
the most
really good,
important thing.
and it was really great that you came to Switzerland here.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to taking you to the
We're feeding you some
tomorrow.
cheese fondue later.
Yeah.
Really fabulous. I mean, looked after so well by these guys, Landon and Andi. You know, just incredible. I've really been treated like a guest, actually. It's just a wonderful and a friend, and I feel humbled, actually. Feel really
Honored.
humbled and
Honored
seeing
too.
these and
Honored too.
honoured and seeing
We
these great.
we need to do this guest book entry today.
You do with
Yeah,
these
so-
great watchmakers in there. Oh, it's
Yeah.
just extraordinary. It's just extraordinary.
That's your next education.
It really
You take
is.
a watch
I
apart.
don't know anything about it. It's incredible. These rubies that are,
Yeah.
you can hardly see them, they're so small.
Yeah. So everybody
Yeah.
who is in Biel, by the way, can come to our place.
Mm-hmm.
Probably send a message before, either through any kind of chat system and or just give a call. And we
Must
are
come and
open,
have a look. You must.
open house here. Nothing to hide.
Wonderful here. Wonderful. Must come.
Okay, so I think we are wrapping things up.
We're gonna
Yeah.
sign off.
Indeed.
Dave,
And
wish
you
you
go
all
ahead.
the best to London.
Yeah, thanks Dave for tuning in.
And,
Thanks, Dave.
See you on the phone or on chat or something.
We'll talk
And
tomorrow.
thank you again to Brian.
See
Yeah?
you soon.
Yeah.